Hi, my name is Louise Clarke, and today I want to address women and crack cocaine because back in the 90s I was the first to work with women crack cocaine users in services, pioneering the services, developed the services for crack cocaine users, especially women in Britain. I spoke at the first conferences for women crack cocaine for women drug users. I spoke on women crack cocaine users' needs, especially in the prison service, and I explained how the use of giving chlorpromazine to crack users was not the solution. And at the end, I was approached by someone who was high up in prisons. I don't know who they were. Asking, well, if we don't give chlorpromazine, Lou, what can we give them instead? And I suggested acupuncture, and I understand after that the acupuncture was provided. I also know that after that conference, which was in 1996, up until that point the government wasn't putting any money into working with crack users, and after that John Major put up about 16 million, I believe, to work with crack users. So then services started providing for crack users. Also around that time they brought in a European law that started insisting that drug workers did outcomes and assessments, which to me was wasting time and also putting off clients coming in services, because there'd be mothers with children and they wouldn't really want to be coming giving all their information. They're already paranoid because they're crack users, and therefore I wasn't happy with working that way, and I hadn't worked that way for all through the 90s. So what I did was, because I was the only person training professionals on how to work with crack cocaine users, I set up selling my own training and funded my own project independently for women crack cocaine users, and also servicing men. But that wasn't, I don't think, acceptable to the powers that be, maybe, because it didn't fit in necessarily with the government guidelines of this outcome and assessment situation. But I didn't feel the guidelines fit in with crack cocaine users. So anyway, yes, it's a long story of how I was really removed from working in the drugs field by interception and interference in running my drug service. Therefore I left the drug service as it was known, although I still continued to see clients here and there, and so I did have an awareness of what was going on in the drugs field up until around about 2010. And then I haven't really been around drug users that much since, and I've been working on other things. But the reason I've made this video is because I wasn't looking to address much on it, but I met up with a crack user yesterday, a female crack user, and she was explaining to me what was happening now in the prison services, and specifically at the prison that she was in, which was, bear with me, it was Bronzefield, which is in Ashford, in this country, UK, and it's run by Sodexo, which is a new name to me because, yeah, I'm out of the system. Now the thing is, I looked into it, and Sodexo is owned by French, which is fine, and I also recall that there was also the competitors are Serco, which I believe is American. And I understand that where women used to go to Holloway prison here, which was a government run prison, that's been pulled down now and turned into flats or houses. And so really, from what I'm understanding, all the prisons are privately run, which again, I mean, is a different issue. But therefore, what I learnt from her is what's disturbing me, because I saw her about a week ago and she'd been let out of prison even though she was due to serve a sentence. They'd for some reason let her out, and she didn't want to come out because out for her, she doesn't sign on to receive any benefits, she doesn't have any home, she just works on the streets to make money for drugs. So for her, she would rather be in prison than on the streets now, because she doesn't want to continue using drugs, but outside, that's like, her addiction is so strong. She's been using since she was 12 years old, and so she doesn't really know how to function without the drug, and so she was looking at being in the prison to deal with her drug problem. And I think there's a lot of people, especially women, entering into prison to try and come off of the drugs, which is a terrible situation to be in. And it doesn't say much for our drug services, although I'm not aware of what the system is now, only from what she taught me of the prison. Now, they released that last week. I saw her, and then she got herself arrested so that she would be taken back into prison. But again, yesterday I saw her and they'd released her again. And this is some vicious circle that people who are working in the field will understand much better than I. But she was saying that once you go in for a year, and then after a year you come out, and if you go in before, then you have to, so basically she's come out now to be sentenced to go in for a year. She doesn't want to be out, there's nowhere for her to be, so she was, last night she was off to go and get herself arrested to get taken back in, because she knew that she was safer inside the prison than out. She's a bag of bones, very underweight, and so then what else she told me about what's happening in the prison was not good to hear. She told to me about the food, and she said that they don't really give them any food, not none, but she wrote down here that there's they get 2 toasts and a bowl. I don't know what the bowl is of. I asked her to write it out, but she was saying she will when she gets to prison, but I don't know if they'll be able to send it up. And she gets 1 milk, and she said the milk is about 200 millilitres. And the issue with the milk is, if you're pregnant, you are entitled to a second bottle of milk, a little bottle of milk. And she's pregnant, and she asked for her milk, and they know she's pregnant because they tested her and told her she was pregnant, but they haven't been giving her milk. So then she wrote a complaint to say that she wasn't getting her milk, and then she received this letter back Wednesday saying that they'd received her complaint, but it wasn't a confidential matter. And I don't understand the procedures there, but it's saying that if she wants to submit, please ensure that in future you do not submit complaints inappropriately using the confidentially access system. Well, it is confidential for her, but it seems that that's a bit blurred, and I don't think she's understanding the system too clear. And I think the matter is she needs the milk now. In addition to having the 2 toasts in the morning, a little bit of milk, and I suppose it's a little bowl of cereal, she says lunch is at 12 o'clock plus medications, and then dinner you order. And she says that they all do it on this pod computer where you use your fingerprint and this signs you in. And this I'm interested in, because even though this is for prison systems, you could see this starting to develop in the community. But she's saying that they have to order their evening meal. So the hot meal, you get 1 hot meal and a sandwich, chips and mash, bagel and a cold with salad. Basically, she's saying they don't give them enough food. She's saying the little scoops of mash, she's drawn the shape of the mash on the card, but it's about this big, 1 spoonful of mash. I mean, this isn't enough. And the thing is, you're dealing with drug users, and I understand that this service is set up, this prison service is specifically for drug users. And the thing is with crack users is 9 times out of 10 they're going to be underweight, they're malnourished, they haven't eaten, they've always chosen drugs over over food, unless they've got a lot of money, they're very likely to be underweight and malnourished. Therefore, what you find with crack users is as soon as they stop, they are starving hungry, and they'll eat and eat and eat, and you could keep feeding them and they will eat more and more because they're starving inside. And so when you're looking at trying to help drug users, the first thing you've got to do is give them some food, to put some nourishment in their bodies. I mean, as soon as they'd walk in my service, if they were coming off the street and been locked in a crack house for weeks on end, then they would come in starving and want sweets, and let them have sweets. Sugar. Their sugar is, and this is the other thing, is their sugar desire is very high, because the crack cocaine, it raises the sugar levels. So they're used to high sugar levels, and when they stop using, there's a demand in them for more sugar, and if they have sugar, they won't have so much cravings for the drug in a twisted sort of way. So really there should be ample sugar. There should be cakes and sweets to satisfy that craving, to help them through their withdrawals. Not from the crack, because there's no withdrawal from crack. But in addition to her crack addiction, she has a heroin addiction. But really the heroin is, she's using it to come down. So it's secondary. But yes, you're saying that there's a restriction on how much sugar they can have. They can have a little bag. The way she described it, it sounds like about half a kilo. They're allowed half a kilo sugar in case they make some sort of hooch, and they're only allowed 2 fruits or something in their room, in case they make some hooch. And I understand this, but then she's also informing me that there's loads of drugs in there, and so really that becomes a bit ridiculous when you're talking about, oh, you can't have some sugar, and looking at the nature of crack addicts that are needing sugar and needing food. So the food that they give them is insufficient. She's saying that they've cut back because she said that they were looking at, they didn't have enough money, you know, they were going bankrupt or something. But that doesn't really make sense, because when I looked at this Sodexo, it's like it's massive. So it's like, well, they're not going bankrupt. But it looks like, yes, there's a lot of economising going on, and the women are suffering as a result of the economising. And also I looked online to learn more about it just in, you know, the last few hours, and there's hardly anything online on this prison, and I will cover what there is, but there's hardly anything there, which doesn't look good either. And then what there is, it's not really covering this like I'm covering it, and so therefore what seems to be is a painted illusion that it's all working lovely. And I saw they've won some gold star award or something for their food, which is a bit of a joke when the women are starving in there. Now the other thing that causes me concern is she's saying that when they go in, if they're a heroin addict, then they'll get, or methadone, they'll get 30 meals a day. If they're skinny, and if they're fatter, then they get 40 meals. It doesn't matter what they were on outside, which I think is quite an irony, because outside in the drug services, then they'll give you methadone, and if you want more, the policy nowadays is to give as much methadone as you require, so that you don't need to go and commit crimes for drugs. Where back in the 90s, when I was working with heroin users in the drug services, in the voluntary sector, we was on a reduction model. So we would give them an amount that would cover them, hold them, and then look at reducing it slowly with the client's agreement till they gradually came off, where all of a sudden it changed to give them as much as they want so they don't commit crimes. But methadone is harder to withdraw from than heroin, which then brings me on to the next bit. Is there's I think it's Sodexo, and they can have that. But if they want to change from methadone to Sodexo, they have to do 3 days without anything, which is ridiculous again. Now the thing is, this is where we've got a little bit of a problem, because when I try to help this woman outside, I will give her Chinese herbs, but they detox the body. And last time she had the herbs, and then she was arrested, so therefore she'd got the herbs in her system, and then she had to go in there and use the methadone, and then the methadone wouldn't hold her because she's got the herbs in her system. I would really like to suggest that whoever, I mean, this video is addressed to anyone who's concerned for these women, anyone who's working for Sodexo or any of the prison system, anyone who's working in the drugs field with the drug users. I really would like to suggest that you start using the Chinese herbs that I have found to be so useful, and so have many drug users. You can withdraw from heroin, methadone, crack, or alcohol addiction, many addictions on these herbs. I mean, you can buy them, they're very cheap, and this is what I think the issue as well is maybe it's the pharmaceutical companies who are owning the methadone, who are owning the Sudatex, that they may be giving incentives to the prisons to provide them chemicals. I don't know. I'm only saying, because really by now you should be using the herbs. Try and capture them. These are the herbs that I use. They come in boxes. The best ones are these ones from China, but there's different countries create them. They're just Chinese herbal. They come in little sachets. You take the whole sachet and that would hold most people. If one sachet doesn't hold them, then take 2 sachets. And you could have 2 in the morning, 2 at night. And if you're not in prison, you can use them in the day as well. Or they're dry. The little balls here are dry. So some say no, it makes them gag a bit. So there's these other ones that come in these boxes. These are shiny. They're like glossy little pills. And they're the same herbs in them, but you would take 8 of them in the morning, 8 at night. Again, if you need to double it, double it. If someone's pregnant, then only use 1 bag. I mean, it's not a terrible thing, but if you keep taking them, they will put a strain on the stomach, but then crack put a strain on the stomach, many drugs put a strain on the stomach. And this is about what a Chinese doctor would recommend is you use them in a normal sense, because they're created for people with anxiety and so forth. They're not really created for drug users, but they work for drug users very well. They would say use them 6 days and have 1 day rest for your stomach, but I say for drug users, use them for a couple of weeks and then you won't need them anymore, because you will be totally detoxed from the drug of your addiction. But I think they should be on offer within the prisons. They're much cheaper. I mean, they work out about 50 pence a bag, so that's like £2 a day. And I'm sure you're spending a lot more than £2 a day giving people methadone or Sudatex. The other thing is when I said, oh, what help do they give you? And she said, well, they do run these workshops. You get paid. You get paid to attend the groups. They have these groups and you get paid 60 pence, which, yes, outside 60 pence is not much, but in a prison 60 pence is quite a lot, because then they can maybe buy food. I don't know what they can spend the 60 pence on, but they get 60 pence for attending the group. I'm not answering that door because I'm making a video. They get 60 pence for entering the group, and they get paid to go to education classes, to lessons that she hasn't actually reached the lessons yet. But the thing is, if you don't attend the lessons, then you get punished, and so therefore you have to. This isn't really a good way to help people restore their self-worth and so forth, to come off of drugs, and that's what the intent is meant to be. She gave me all the paperwork that she'd been released from prison with, and I mean, as I say, last night she had intent to be rearrested, to taken back in, so we'll see. But what she showed me is what they give her. I said, what do they give? And she said these poems, and I will show you that there was a video online where this woman's doing poetry with the inmates, and even though the poetry work is beneficial and it helps people to release, that I can understand is beneficial, she said that they gave them these poems to read. And I mean, yes, if you like reading poems, I suppose it's helpful, but if you're not really into reading other people's poems, it's a bit of waste of paper. Now, meanwhile, what seems to be hard to... when I came out of the drugs field and I did the training to teach others how to work with crack users, I did write books. Now, I wrote this book, Stop Using Crack Cocaine and Reclaim Your Life. It's very simply written. I mean, I cover it, it's all over YouTube. I've got it on my website. It's everywhere. My name's Louise Clarke. And I mean, she's read it. Many users who know me have read it and they love the book. Why is it not in the prison? So, you know, even if prison services want to just buy 10 copies or 1 copy that they can all share, I think they should invest. I mean, I only charge about £5.90, I think, is online. This is print on demand because it's self-published by me, because I didn't want to have to edit things out that others may not want in there. I wanted to cover everything. And so, yes, I think it'd be wise to have a few copies of this book and ideally give the inmates a copy of the book to read rather than poems, or in addition to poems. But it's like this is a bit more helpful than poems, because when I look at her booklets that she has also to fill out, she's got one here called Cocaine and Crack, a Cell Work Pack. And really, I've looked through it, and it's a bit of a joke, if I'm honest. I mean, it tells her all about how in the biggest writing, it tells her, you know, where the cocaine comes from, when did you start using, what caused you to start. This doesn't help her. This is just them doing their assessments free of charge. So there's nothing really, I looked through it, there's nothing in there that helps her look at herself really, look at her addiction and teach her really anything. And so therefore, again, I would suggest, no, if you used my books, it would help. The heroin one she hadn't filled out, but it's basically the same. It's like, it's of no use. I cannot see, it's not written with intent to help anyone as far as I'm concerned. It's written to have something written, to give them something, but it's not really what they would need. If people are interested in having me put together something that would help, I don't mind doing that sort of consultancy work for you. But otherwise, as I say, the book to help the users would help greatly. Also, I said about phones, and she said, yeah, they are allowed to have phones in their cell, but not ones with internet, although she said that in the men's prisons she believes they do have the internet, which is not really a bit equality, is it? So they can have their phones in their cells. So that's all they're really offering. Now the thing is, I want to add here, when I did the training how to work with crack users, women crack users, I wrote a book here that covers all of it for professionals. This is written for the professionals. There's a video I'll show you that I made that talks of this book. Also, you can go to my website, higherinsight.co.uk, higherinsight.webs.com. And then I also wrote one for how to work with male users, and yes, they're different, the way they deal. Now again, you can buy these print on demand online, and therefore if you just buy 1 copy then you may work out how to run a better service for crack cocaine users in the prison. Now, what I just want to look if there's anything I haven't covered from what she wrote to me on the card. She's saying that also people don't get all their medications of what they're entitled to, their tablets. So, and I mean, she's got no reason to be telling me lies. She's known me a few years now. I just say, tell me what's going on, and that's what she's told me. So if she's saying that's not going on, that they're not getting all their medication, then they're not getting all their medication. I believe her. And then she's saying about the prisoners are the workers for education, so they get the prisoners and they pay them to do the lessons. And you don't get any extra food when you're pregnant. She's written there, as I said, you get the milk, although she's not getting her milk. So this is, yeah, it has brought concern to me, because it's like, well, where else can she go? I mean, it's a sad situation when women are desperate for help and the only help they can look to is in the prison, to be arrested and put in prison. And then even in the prisons there's all this funding and money is put in. I mean, the money you spent on photocopying these pointless handouts could be spent wiser, you know, even on my book. And it's not about me making money, because no, I don't make money, but I just want the information out there. So now I just want to show you what there was online, so I'll have to take my camera to show you. I'm not the best because I'm, you know, it's self-made, these videos, but I just want to cover it because I feel like it's not. Now, if I can show you, I'll just no, that page won't do again. Okay, because there's a video here, if I take the camera and show you, there's a video here called Beautiful Sentence, and this is the only video I could find on YouTube for the Sodexo Bronzefield Prison UK search. The others, I mean, here you've got Holloway, but as I say, they're no longer there. So it's all looking sweet, because this video just talks of, you know, it shows you the women doing doing poetry, but it's like the poetry is not, it's not enough, it's not sufficient. It's a start. And then I found this on the Daily Mail. I mean, there wasn't much. I'll put these links below, and showing you that they've cut down, he told the Sunday people that the staff numbers, well, I'll put it up, but they'll start when Sodexo took over 2 years ago, they reduced staff by 1/3. I mean, this is the prison. And the thing is, they're profiling like they're doing some good work. No, they're not. Then I also saw, even though there's not much, they've got about these lesbians that wanted to be in the same cell and they weren't allowed to. So that's just like media hype. Surrey, yeah, which is our sort of posh area, and probably, yeah, is where the prison is based. But it's like, what about these issues of the real issues? There was in 2013 an inspector, unannounced, went to the prison, and they found it. There was a woman kept in a cell for 5 years. I mean, now that I found that inspector's report. That I'll also put below, so that's outlining it. It's very long. This is the video I made for the book that I've shown you, Addressing Women and Crack, and also I have a page that I've covered all my past history on working and developing services for women crack users, and this is all on a web page of mine. There's me, my drug service, but the thing is, and yes, I did a load of media coverage in the 90s, so these are all the different articles on there which you can read, and you can read published papers that I've written. There's one there, the training that I offered. And the thing is, I could still offer this training now. There's no reason why I can't offer this training now, for the staff to understand the drug better, to understand the addiction better, to offer, you know, if they're going to spend the money. This is a published paper that I made after I did the first, I think that's enough of that, first women's drugs conference in England, and I did a speech on the crack service. I think it was called Run Around Can't Get a Rehab. I mean, it's all on that web page. There is a Facebook page as well for women and crack responding to needs. So I hope by me speaking out here that it opens up the arena for people to know that the services that are being provided are insufficient and that they can be improved. I mean, there is solutions. There is, you know, you can offer the herbs, you can offer books that give them information, you can devise your workshops to be better, to be more than these leaflets that tell them, oh yes, cocaine comes from Colombia. That doesn't really help a drug addict, you know. It's like as if they just copy pasted out of a book on these things and that will do, and there's no deep thought gone into how to address this. And it's a shame, because I mean, as I say, I did all that in the 90s and here we are now with less than we had then. And it's like, and then we're condemning the women, taking the children, and that's another video in itself. Anyway, I think I've covered everything. It was only to make a quick video really to address this, and I'm hoping that it will be heard and maybe women will benefit from. Okay, thank you for now. Bye bye.